Blog Talk Radio. Has anyone ever told you you dream too big, that you have too many ideas, that you need to be realistic? What if there was a career and lifestyle that you could completely design yourself that enables you to do what makes your heart truly sing and helps millions of people benefit from what you have to offer? One that provided you with all the money you need to thrive, not just survive. That is the life of an enlightened entrepreneur. Welcome to the Aha Moments radio show, dedicated to the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened entrepreneurs worldwide, with your host, Mariana Cooper, founder of Aha Moments Inc. and AhaMomentsInc.com. Her motto, oh yes, you can have what you want, and you deserve it too. Join us for the next hour and learn to trust your aha moments to lead the way to a passionate and purposeful life. And now here's your host, Mari.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aha Moments radio show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened entrepreneurs worldwide. I'm Mari, and welcome and happy Tuesday. It's another week of Mercury in retrograde. How are you guys holding up? I've been doing pretty decent. I'm knocking on wood. I don't like to say it too soon, but I know a lot of people have been sort of aggravated with all the energy that's been spinning around and things kind of going awry and whatnot. But hopefully you can just get through just a few more days. We'll be done on the 17th. So today's the 12th, so we have, 5 more days of this, and then we'll be feeling a lot better. So we have lots to talk about tonight. Tonight we're going a little bit off the beaten path. We are going to be talking about the topic of multidimensionality, and this is something that is just taking the world by storm. I mean, we've talked about all kinds of things on this show, and, you've heard about the laws of attraction from, that was kind of like the big thing several years ago. And now it seems that everybody's starting to figure out that there is such a thing as an energetic grid, and there is such a thing as energy, and there is such a thing of us being connected to the energy. But what about other options? What about being able to access versions of ourselves that are in addition to what we consider to be our regular waking state in this embodied life of ours? And how do we kind of harness that and use it for our greater good, for our relationships, for our money? How do we apply that in practical ways? And that's what I like to talk about, is big esoteric things and how to bring them into our practical reality so we can actually employ them in our own lives in a way that's going to be helpful to us, in regular normalcy, if there is any such thing. I was just on the phone with one of my friends, and she was telling me how not normal I was, and I've gotten so used to my weirdness that when she started to describe me, and I was like, oh, well, isn't that normal? She's like, no, it's not. You're not normal. So it's like, okay, good. As long as the day that you call me normal is the day I know something's going wrong. But anyway, this topic I love, and I'll tell you. Well, you know what? Let me do housekeeping first, and then I want to get into how I kind of decided to talk about this today, because really interesting things have been coming up. So we have our Mercury in retrograde. We already covered that. Also Saturn in retrograde. That doesn't end until July, so just pretend it's not happening. That's what I've decided. The astrologers would kill me for saying it, but I just say, you know what? I can't take it anymore, so I just pretend it's not there and just assume that everything's going to be okay. Because you know what? There's always something retrograding. But Mercury seems to have a pretty hardcore effect. So that'll end on the 17th. But the good aspect of things is that we just had a new moon yesterday. So we are in the halo of the new moon, which is wonderful. It's fresh starts, it's new beginnings. But this particular new moon is in Pisces. So that is, according to the powers that be, that is the time for inspiration. It's the moon of taking, the moon that represents taking a leap of faith, which is very cool. So if you're thinking about of feeling motivated, needing motivation, needing inspiration, feeling like it's time to take your quantum leap, this is a really good time to do it. You might want to give it, a few days, but the influence of this moon is great. So even though we have the Mercury in retrograde thing going on, we have this nice softening moon, and that should soften the edges of things. So it's really a good time for maybe not a launch of something, but, sitting with your journal and writing about what it is you desire and focusing on the action steps now. This is a really active time. This is where you should be in high gear, putting things together, lots of phone calls, lots of, taking action steps, whatever those might be, meetings, research, all that good stuff. This is the time where you really want to maximize the energy because, before you know it, we'll be into the end of May, and that's when things start to really slow down. Like we get into that June time frame, that transitional time frame, people get distracted with the graduations, the proms, and all that other stuff. And then the summer, of course, you go into that slow period, that more of that sort of maturation, heavy period. So this is your real, spring forward. We just had daylight savings, which I love, to have nice, have some light, because I'm a night person, so it's nice to have some extra daylight for my late night hours. And, it's just a really good time. And, of course, next week or the next few days, we'll have spring starting, too. So that's all exciting, especially here on the East Coast. All right, and then the other big thing that I've been working on, which I'm very excited about because it's really taken on a life of its own, is our new telesummit. And this telesummit is not going to be like the other ones. It's much, much, much bigger. We have some amazing new speakers coming on. We have, I think, just about everyone's new to this particular telesummit, and we will be premiering a new movie. I just got word today that we did get this movie, though. So we'll be premiering a new movie and some phenomenal transformational leaders that you all know and love who are in this movie, and some of them will actually be participating in the telesummit, speaking and taking your questions and all that good stuff. So we'll be premiering this movie to kick the telesummit off. I'm not going to say more about it yet because we're getting our website up. You'll see it all next week. And we're still confirming speakers, and oh my gosh, it's just been amazing. The turnout, the people are just coming. I mean, I'm getting calls and emails every day with, can I speak? Can I speak? Can I speak? Can I speak? So I've been really choosing with a fine-tooth comb, really going through with a fine-tooth comb, making sure that everybody is really top-notch, and I like to say world-class. So I'm very excited about this. So the date, you want to mark your calendar. The registration pages will be up. Hopefully, I don't know how far Gina's going to get this week, but next week she should have our registration page up. So if you want to do an early registration, you're welcome to do that. And so it should be up next week. And the dates, though, for the telesummit, the speakers will be on from April 14th to May 2nd. So we're going on a long time this time. We'll have between 15 and 20 speakers. I'm not just going to put anybody on there. So if I don't find really, really, really top-notch ones, I'll go with a smaller number. If I find really, really top-notch ones, then I'll finish it out. We already have 14 of them anyway, so just a few more will be booked. And then but the week before is the 14th, so probably like the week of the 11th, we'll have a preview call on the 11th, and then on the 13th, we're going to have our big screening of the movie and the whole celebrity question and answer thing, and it's just going to be great. So I'm really looking forward to that. So you just mark your calendars and just know you'll be hanging out with us for the better half of April and into the beginning of May. Let's see. I think that's it for now. We've got just so much going on. So I'm going to leave it at that because I want to get into the topic. Oh, tonight I'm doing reading. Hey, yeah, that's that's right. So if you would like to get a reading, and I see someone who's calling in already, so that is very, very cool. You can call in at 347-215-9485. It's 347-215-9485. I'll get through a little bit of this content, and I'll start taking some of your calls. So definitely call in and say hi. Okay, so let's talk about this multidimensionality because it is something that as I was watching, listening to speakers, and I've been I've kind of gone out of my own personal inner circle this time and decided to sort of expand the pool of who I was going to put on the telesummit. And I cannot believe how many people are out there who are speakers, and they have different modalities, and this one had a near-death experience, and that one had sees the dead people and all this, and it's just fascinating how many people I've come across. And one of the things that I've been hearing through not just the speakers themselves and their I call them their handlers, their managers, and all their assistants and whatnot. I've been hearing from audience members, some people who are not part of this business but who are listeners, that the big thing now is this whole idea of the holographic field and the energetic field, and this whole idea of multidimensionality. It kept coming up over and over again, and there's all these gurus out there who are talking about these different things in much more accessible ways than has been in the past. It's so interesting to see how the world of consciousness, of spirituality, of New Age, metaphysics, all of these quantum fields, quantum thought, all these, new thought, all these different things that are have been sort of in their own little niche, in their own little, just their own little subculture are now becoming very mainstream. And maybe not completely mainstream, but much more so than ever before. So what we're seeing is a lot of different speakers popping up. And the question I kept getting from folks is, who's real and who's not? Is this true? Can this work? Is there more to us than just our physical bodies going back and forth to work in the car each day? What's really out there? Sometimes people can wrap their head around, an aura, or they can wrap their head around, I can think of someone and they might call, or intuition, some of these things. But the idea of actually perhaps living more than one life at the same time, another version of you exists in some other modality, some other dimension, or to be able to access energies from these other places, kind of sometimes can blow people's head off their shoulders. So as I listened, I said, this would be a great topic to start, and went to start to have a conversation about. And I have been vetting out speaker after speaker after speaker to find the best, the very best, and the most reputable and the most honest, and I would say the clearest speakers for the telesummit to talk about this topic, because it can get, people put a lot of speculation. I didn't want speculation. I want, as close to accurate as we can, consider all things considered. So let's start from the basics, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the, we're not going to go too deep on this show, but we'll get into some more of the details. So the basics are this. We talk about our infinite self, right? And we've talked about this on the show many, many times, and in my classes and whatnot, that we have our embodied self within our infinite self. Our infinite self is that big ball of energy of us. It's the part of us that's connected to all things, to all beings. It's connected to the Akashic. It's connected to God. It's connected to all of the parts of nature, both animate and inanimate. Infinite self houses everything. It's interconnected with all things. And then you have your embodied self, which is a version of you, a portion of you that decides to take on a vessel, the human body, for this particular lifetime, this particular incarnation, so that it can have physical, tangible experiences and learn various sundry lessons, right, and develop and ascend to greater and greater points of consciousness as you have this physical embodied experience. And then the thing that swings back and forth between the two sides, the two versions of you, or two aspects, I like to say, they're not separate, they're just two aspects of you, is the intuition. That's the link of communication, the language between that helps to link your consciousness to each other, the consciousness of the embodied self into the consciousness of the infinite self. And so there's many, many tools, right, to kind of learn about what the infinite self has to say. We have various oracles, they call them. So you have various, they have the tarot cards, and they have angel cards and all kinds of things. There's over I don't know, last count what I had read is over 800 different types of oracles out there. Oracles being, every culture has them, every religion has them. They'll call it prophecy in some religions. They'll call it, that's the reading of the tea leaves. There's all kinds of different things. Reading shells, reading smoke coming up from flames, reading candles, reading the clouds, and reading how a cat travels. There's all different types of ways that through the centuries, people have tried to access information from that infinite space. So it's been known since the Kabbalah, which predates Christianity by a few thousand years. It's been known that there is such a thing as this infinite, aspect of our world, of us, of ourselves. And while we're embodied and we are sort of consumed in the mental processes and the mental processing and the physicality of, and they call it the duality of our physical world, that we need to be able to access the information that our infinite self holds, because it keeps us safe, it keeps us inspired, it directs us on our path and what's good for us, what's not. It answers questions for us. It informs us, it educates us, it helps us to find affection and love and relationship and money, and it's everything. And creation, of course. I mean, the infinite version of you is the creation version of you. It's the part that inspires that physical aspect of you to take steps forward to create in the world. So very, very important to understand what it has to say. And there's not a generation of peoples or a culture that does not have some sort of divination and access or attempt to access this infinite self, this infinite body of wisdom. So with that being said, there is one thing that actually came up in one of my channelings earlier this week that really made sense to me, because when we're thinking about these gurus, okay, all these people that go in, they say, oh, we can help you to use your holographic field to create your holographic whatever, or they say, oh, we're going to help you to access, these parts of your consciousness and all this. How do they actually do that? How do they move their hands? The body's moving all over the place. How do they actually seem to have such a command of this infinite space and on our behalf? And why is it that we don't have that command? I mean, have you ever thought of that? Like, why is it that there's so many of these folks out there now? They're saying, oh, I'll give you this 21-day program and pray over you, and I'll do that, and, hail to the mother load, and, all these things that can happen to you. But why is it that you can't have that if it's your infinite self? Why would we need a third party to go into that infinite space to then tell us, to tell the other part of us that has part of that infinite space within us what the greater part of us has to say? So, of course, part of that answer is that because if you don't know how to speak, Italian in Rome, you get a translator, right? So, of course, that's what these gurus and these various practitioners and whatnot serve as. But there's something more going on. There's something more, because what I've found is that there's a difference. There's a difference between the type of person, the type of practitioner that can sit in their physical world and speak to you and, let's say, do a card reading for you, or, kind of life coach you or whatever. And those people can orient themselves from the physical world. And then they sort of help you to try to influence some sort of favor from this greater part of yourself, so that maybe you can be granted these things that you most desire. The ones who seem to be quite special, the ones who seem that, quote, make the miracles happen, the guru type people, but I don't think, I put air quotes around the word guru. And when we come back from the break, I'll talk a little bit more about that, because I want everybody to be clear on what I mean with that. But when you're talking about somebody who can come in and sort of seems to shift space, or shift, there's healings that happen and miracles kind of happen. Those folks don't really orient themselves from the physical. what they do is they orient themselves from the infinite space. So they sort of take themselves into that infinite space, and then they work back towards the physical body as opposed to putting themselves in the physical space and working towards the infinite. And it's a very big difference. So we already got to the first break. I'm going to talk about that difference and some more stuff. And if you'd like to call in and ask a question tonight, I'd love to hear from you. The number is 347-215-9485. It's 347-215-9485. And when we come back from the break, we'll get more into this whole idea of multidimensionality. What was I supposed to say? Oh, yeah. I'm Mari. You're listening to the Aha Moments radio show, and we'll be right back.
Step back in time to the very beginning, before life as we know it existed. Stones have been on this earth since before the inception of man. They are keepers of ancient wisdom and messages. Tap into the profound wisdom of stones and let your journey begin at the Rock Girl Sacred Stone School. Let the Rock Girl take you back to those ancient days to learn firsthand the language and the secrets of stones. The Rock Girl will teach you how to develop your very own technique of communicating with them, allowing you to embark on your own path of self-discovery. Courses include Reiki, psychic development, chakra balancing and auric cleansing, hands-on healing, and more. Visit sacredstoneschool.com for classes and workshops taught exclusively by the Rock Girl of therockgirl.com.
Do you ever get a hunch about something and ignore it, only to find out later you were right after all? Do you know that you're intuitive but need help interpreting what you get? Need quick answers to burning questions but don't have the time to wait for a private reading? Then Mari's Intuitive Living Oracle cards are the tool for you. 45 gorgeous laminated cards and a full book of interpretations come together in a beautiful velvet bag. The cards have been designed and energized to give you the answers right now. No more sleepless nights weighing pros and cons. Ask the cards your questions and see what message your intuition has for you. To learn more and get your deck now, go to the store at www.ahamomentsinc.com and click on the Intuitive Living cards now. That's the store at ahamomentsinc.com. The answers are truly within your reach.
Are you at a crossroads in your life, facing big decisions about your life purpose, business, relationships, or other major issues? Are you wondering why you may be delayed in getting what you want? Or if you have special guides who are helping you? Then investing in a private intuitive reading with Mari is just what you need. As a third-generation spiritual intuitive, Mari has worked with thousands of clients over the past 18 years. During your private session, you will learn who your guides are, receive insight on the core issues that need attention, and get new perspective, clarity, and inspiration on what to do next. To register, go to www.ahamomentsinc.com and click on the Work with Mari tab to get all of the details. There are a limited number of spots each month, so go to www.ahamomentsinc.com for yours now.
Hello, you're listening to the Aha Moments radio show. I'm Mari, and we're back from our break. Today we are talking all about multidimensionality and how to pick your guru. Because I tell you, I've seen a lot of gurus in the last few weeks, and it's been quite a ride. And that's one of the reasons, one of the things I was inspired to talk about this. I've been talking about this topic in all of my advanced classes, but I just thought this would be a good time to start to bring it up, especially since we're getting into telesummit time and we're going to start to see some of the more amazing people that I've come across who've come on to our shows and share their wisdom. And so we were talking about the types of practitioners who orient themselves from the physical world towards the infinite state, and then those who kind of can spin around in the infinite and orient themselves back towards the physical. And those are the ones that you start to hear some of the pretty miraculous things coming forward. And how do you know the difference? Well, the ones who orient themselves from the physical world will talk to you a lot about goal setting. They'll talk to you about skills assessment. They'll talk to you very oriented from this side of the fence. Very tangible, very, cerebral kind of approaches. They may talk to you a little bit about, like therapy and that type of thing. They may even talk to you about intuition and that kind of thing, but from the point of view of the, kind of going in and creating a space so you can have favor of this energy that we all know, the God of our own understanding, that, we can have access to and get favor from, and then, to hopefully get some of the desires that we have. But there's a sense of separateness about it. It's almost like, there's got to be the whole patience and kind of doing all the different exercises and the vision boards. All that is very physically oriented. Now, when you get into some of these more interesting, I call them interesting just because they're so few and far between. And they're beyond practitioners. They're more, let's call them energetic beings or energy workers, let's just say, just for the sake of the conversation we're having tonight. They have a tendency, what they do is they orient themselves, again, from the infinite. So what you'll hear them talk about is consciousness. You'll hear them speak about expansion. You'll hear them speak about spaciousness. You'll hear them speak about infinite. They'll use the word infinite a lot. They'll use the word, they'll talk about this field, the energetic grid, the holographic, the matrix. You hear them speak, they sort of orient themselves from that place. And what that does is it gives you a whole different set of tools because it takes all the limitation off because you're going into a space where you're orienting yourself from a place of no limits. So everything is possible. And when you start to work from that place, also everything is in divine perfection. So when you start to orient yourself from that place and then you go towards the physical world and start to operate there, you have a much bigger toolkit, right? Well, because now one of the key requirements of working in the infinite field is that you actually believe it exists. And so, and that you actually, and then on top of that, the next key to being able to work in that infinite field towards the physical is that you actually believe that you can use that energy as a tangible tool. And when you can orient yourself from that point of view, from that side of the fence, you can really, that's where you really see the miracles happen. So last weekend, I went to New York City, and I had been, toggling around. I have all kinds of producers and, some of my other telesummit host friends and things. Everybody's sending me different people for the potentially, audition, let's say, for this show, for this telesummit. And I stumbled across a guy named Brazzo. It's spelled B-R-A-C-O. And if you want to check him out, you can go to brazzo.net. So it's B-R-A-C-O.net. And some of you have probably heard of him because he's quite renowned. And I just found it fascinating. I stumbled across him actually on Facebook. I was, toggling through the news feed, and I see these women, and they're standing over this table of books. And they have these looks on their faces, and they look really happy and giddy. And I was like, oh, boy, that looks like somebody. That looks like volunteers for one of these, gurus. Somebody's in town because they just look, oh, so happy. And they said Brazzo's in town. At the time, I was calling him Bracco because it's B-R-A-C-O. I mean, how do you don't know you're supposed to pronounce it, but he's Croatian, so that's the, Croatian pronunciation. So I click through, and I find out that this guy does gazing. So he doesn't even speak. He stands on the stage, and he basically stares at the crowd, and people have all these miraculous things happening. They say they cure cancer, they get up out of a wheelchair, they walk across the floor, they do all this stuff. And I was just like, really? Really? Okay, I've seen everything. I've seen a lot of stuff. but I hadn't seen this before. And he looks like Jesus. I mean, he's got the long hair, and he's got this very angelic face, and he's a very slight build, you know. And I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, really? So I read through, and he's got all these books, DVDs, and come to find out he's done this called this gazing for the UN, and was very well received, and got this Peace Award and all this stuff. And he's had all these scientific experiments done on him, and how does he do this, and how does he make this energy flow, and how does it, you know, and all these questions. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go, and I'm going to check him out. Why not? He just, you know, I was so intrigued. So off I go into New York, and he starts at 8 in the morning, 10 in the morning, and he goes till 8 at night. And every hour they have a session with him. And so each hour you can buy a session for like $8, and you go in and you sit in the audience. You know, they sort of herd the audience in, and everybody, you know, fills up the chairs and everything. And then somebody comes on and they speak and they talk about, you know, good things that have happened because of his work. And, you know, they show a video clip of one of the DVDs in some aspect of the world, and they have some music, blah, blah, blah. And because he only talks, he doesn't talk. He does this gazing thing for like 8 minutes. And then he goes. So then he comes up on the stage, and everybody stands up, and he's staring at you, you know, and you're looking at him. But I gotta tell you, so you get through the whole session. He finishes his 8 minutes. So we'll finish this. He finishes his 8 minutes. He goes off the stage, off into his chambers or wherever he goes. And the lady comes back up on the stage, and she does like a Q&A. What is your experience? What is your experience? And people had all these experiences and whatever. And then everybody herds out of the room. And if you're going to go for another session, you go back on the line. Otherwise, you go home. Most people do multiple sessions. They're only $8 a piece, you know. So there's people who buy a whole day pass, and they go for the whole day. And there's people who buy a few sessions. I bought 3 sessions. I figured 3 times the charm, right? Like if I probably wouldn't feel anything the first time because I'm going to be too critical, you know, and too curious and asking questions the second time. I'd probably be more open to it by the third time. I'd probably, you know, maybe I'd have a miracle happen. So I watch, you know, so I sit in, and it happened pretty much like that. The first time I was just like, how does he do, you know, you're sitting there like watching it, and like, do I feel anything? No, not so much. I don't feel anything. So I'm like, but I see other people feeling stuff, you know, and I'm like, okay, so I expected maybe 100 people to be in the room. Well, there were 450 people in the room in Midtown, New York. I mean, this is like on 34th Street and 8th, you know. So I was just like, okay, 400 people in the room. Everybody, there's got to be something to this. Come to find out, he's done this for 10,000 groups of 10,000 people. It was fascinating. Well, the second round, I started to get really tired. And I said, wow, the energy's kicking in, because I know that for other modalities that I've been involved in where I start to really sort of let my guard down, you get that like heavy, kind of tired, relaxed feeling. And by the third one, I started to see, because I'm very clairvoyant, I started to see all these colors and visions and all these things. And it was amazing. And it was a very, very powerful and wonderful, very calm, very peaceful kind of experience. And then when I came home, you know, my world, like just all kinds of opportunities started showing up, and all kinds of different little miracles and things I would quote, you know, consider to be miracles. It was starting to happen in my world, and I was like, wow, I really, really am impressed by this. It was just so different from, you know, all these people who are just chatter, and all kinds of, you know, high energy, blah, 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 and, you know, I can help you. But this guy just says nothing. And he transfers the energy because he's working from that infinite field back towards the physical. And it was just the epitome of that. And the courage he has to stand up on the stage, and he does this all over the world. I was talking to another practitioner, another person last night, and he said, I went to see him in L.A., and he had a similar experience, you know. And it seems like a lot of people know him, you know, but he's not like a big media hound, so he's not like all over the media to the level that some of the other people are. So what I would say is that when you're looking at someone like that, can they really have an influence on physicality when he's not even saying anything? And I from witnessing it, I am saying a resounding yes. Absolutely. Because if we're all energy and we start to orient ourselves from that greater part of us back towards the physical, we will have access to aspects of ourselves that are so powerful, that have all of the answers that we're seeking. And if you really think about it, if in the infinite field everything's perfection, right? Because that's our connection to God, the God of your understanding. That's that connection, right? And if you are working from that space, is there really any illness? No. Is there any lack of money? No. Is there any lack of pretty much anything? No. Is there a lack of love? No. So what if you could envision other people with you? What if you said, okay, the way I liken it to, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to use this for yourself. So how do you orient yourself into your infinite self versus your physical self when you're kind of in your physical body having life, happen every day? Well, what you can do is perceive yourself, make the choice to see yourself as two aspects of you. There's two aspects. So if, when we had actual real cameras before the digital cameras came out, and you have the print of the picture on the photo paper, and then you have the negative. Remember what a negative looks like when we actually use film. But it was the same picture. It was just a different version of it, right? A different aspect of the same picture. So if you look at your infinite self versus your physical self, your embodied self, and your greater consciousness versus your physical mental mind, they're one and the same, because the infinite self exists within the body. That's what makes you, alive. But if you decide, okay, I'm going to just take a dial, like imagine a dial, and just switch over to the infinite version of me. And when I step into that space, I'm in perfection. I am in perfect health. I am in perfect balance. I am in perfect prosperity. I'm in the perfect space for receiving and giving in relationship. I'm in a state of divine perfection. I'm connected to God. God is of my understanding. I'm connected to all things. I have access to all wisdom. I have access to all versions of me, all versions of everyone else, all versions of nature, all versions of animate and inanimate objects. I am connected to universal energy and to all that, every other dimension of me that's in existence. And when you're in that space, then that means you have a huge toolkit. And you can actually send energy from that space to your physical body. From that space, can you imagine if you imagine putting a chair in your infinite field and just looking back at your, quote, earthly life and saying, okay, here's energy towards perfect health. I'm going to supply energy to the relationships that I'm in. And what if you could even meet the person you're in relationship with in that infinite space, and then together you send, because in the infinite space your relationship is perfect. There's total respect, there's total communion, there's total wisdom, there's love, there's this universal love, and you can send that type of energy back to your physical life. And I can tell you from personal experience, it will shift. It will shift. So this is how these quote gurus, this broad soul, this is like kind of the rudimentary basics of how someone like that works. He works by saying, I am in the infinite, and I have the courage to show people that that's where I stand. That's where the orientation I choose to perceive from. And I'm going to share my perceptions. I'm going to share the tools that I have access to with this crowd, and I don't really need to say a word, because in the infinite, I don't need a voice. I just need the transcendence. And you transcend that energy from one field to the other. And the people on the other side of it, who are in the audience, are saying, I'm open to receive. Whatever this guy is doing, I'm open to receive it. And the ones who really are open to it, do receive it. And because within that infinite perfection, they're receiving it into their physical bodies. But remember, your physical body is consumed by the infinite. It's already in you. So it's just the infinite speaking to the infinite. You don't have to really get through much, just a little skin and bones and muscles and fat. and even within all of that, the infinite is even in every cell. It's within every cell. So when you're willing to consciously receive, even from the physical orientation, you are in a position to have miracles happen. And that is how these guys work. And what you're going to be seeing a lot more of, because I'm kind of on that pulse of just seeing what's, spinning, kind of flying high over the whole thing. You're going to be seeing a lot more people who are graduating to this infinite orientation. And I highly suggest that if you are going to choose, practitioners to follow, I'm not saying to guru-wise anyone, which means to give your power over to them, you will, but if you start to sort of pay attention to what they're saying and doing, you will divinely be led to the right ones for you. And again, I think the next layer of what's going to happen, in history, we haven't had this much access to this much information, right? So what you've seen is the guru, the quote person who has this sort of orientation from the infinite, has their guru-wise by people in the physical because they can't figure out how they do this. So it just seems like magic, and they don't know, when you don't know how to do something, right, and you can't kind of figure it out, you give all this, like, credence to this being that can do it because you can't. But it's not. But once you know how to do the magic trick, it's kind of like, oh, okay, the playing field is leveled again. Well, what you're going to start to see over the next several months and years is that each and every person is going to start to be able to access this infinite field orientation for themselves. You're going to be able to get the tools now to be able to do it from your own life. Now, obviously, if you need surgery, you go to a surgeon, right? And so there's going to be times when you need more of a professional person who really knows way more than you do to support you. But there's going to be, it's kind of like now you can do, you can do your own digital photography, right? You've kind of been given tools that you couldn't have had before without a darkroom and all the pans and all that stuff. So now you can do it on your computer. We've been given tools because we're evolving. It's called evolution. So this is some of that energetic evolution that you have to look forward to, and I highly suggest that you start to pay a little bit of attention, or a lot of attention to this, because it'll give you some more power that you've really never seen before, and it also will speed up the results that we're all looking for. So we're going to take our last break, and then when I come back, I'm going to take your questions. So please, if you've been holding on, please hang in there. I will definitely get to your questions. The number to call in, if you'd like to ask a question tonight, is 347-215-9485. It's 347-215-9485. I'm Mari. You're listening to the Aha Moments radio show. We'll be right back.
Do you ever get a hunch about something and ignore it, only to find out later you were right after all? Do you know that you're intuitive but need help interpreting what you get? Need quick answers to burning questions but don't have the time to wait for a private reading? Then Mari's Intuitive Living Oracle cards are the tool for you. 45 gorgeous laminated cards and a full book of interpretations come together in a beautiful velvet bag. The cards have been designed and energized to give you the answers right now. No more sleepless nights weighing pros and cons. Ask the cards your questions and see what message your intuition has for you. To learn more and get your deck now, go to the store at www.ahamomentsinc.com and click on the Intuitive Living cards now. That's the store at ahamomentsinc.com. The answers are truly within your reach.
Are you at a crossroads in your life, facing big decisions about your life purpose, business, relationships, or other major issues? Are you wondering why you may be delayed in getting what you want? Or if you have special guides who are helping you? Then investing in a private intuitive reading with Mari is just what you need. As a third-generation spiritual intuitive, Mari has worked with thousands of clients over the past 18 years. During your private session, you will learn who your guides are, receive insight on the core issues that need attention, and get new perspective, clarity, and inspiration on what to do next. To register, go to www.ahamomentsinc.com and click on the Work with Mari tab to get all of the details. There are a limited number of spots each month, so go to www.ahamomentsinc.com for yours now.
Step back in time to the very beginning, before life as we know it existed. Stones have been on this earth since before the inception of man. They are keepers of ancient wisdom and messages. Tap into the profound wisdom of stones and let your journey begin at the Rock Girl Sacred Stone School. Let the Rock Girl take you back to those ancient days to learn firsthand the language and the secrets of stones. The Rock Girl will teach you how to develop your very own technique of communicating with them, allowing you to embark on your own path of self-discovery. Courses include Reiki, psychic development, chakra balancing and auric cleansing, hands-on healing, and more. Visit sacredstoneschool.com for classes and workshops taught exclusively by the Rock Girl of therockgirl.com.
Hello, we're back. You're listening to the Aha Moments radio show. I'm Mari, and tonight we've been talking all about multidimensionality. So hopefully you've gotten some good insights. If you've been listening to the podcast, I hope you are taking notes and sorting it out and just considering it. I mean, you don't even really need to take notes. Just to contemplate it is pretty cool. We have many, many versions of us. Multidimensionality aspects is we also have, in addition to this embodied self, we have several of those going on at the same time, and we can access various versions of those as needed. And so, if you think of your body as a thimble and you're sort of in that body, there's a portion of your infinite self in that body. There's other thimbles within that bigger version of you. And so there may be a version of you who's an artist, or there may be a version of you who's an athlete, or there may be a version of you who's a successful business person or a nurse, or, a parent if you're not a parent. And you can actually cross-communicate with those various other versions of you to commune with the skills and with the lifestyles and with the healings of those other embodied versions of you. Those are called doppelgangers. They've actually done research on it, scientific research, and they actually have proven that it's true and blah, blah. Very, very interesting. I talk about him sometimes on the show. There's a guy named Bert Goldman who really specializes in this, and I've always been fascinated by his work. I'm trying to get him on my show for 2 years now. Very hard guy to get a hold of, but I keep trying. We'll see. But it's fascinating work. Fascinating work. And it really does, when you think about, if you have access to this infinite field, and then you have access to other versions of you that are successfully doing what you're designed to do in this particular lifetime that you're oriented from, it's just astounding how much you really can pull from. So that's enough on multidimensionality. Let's take a caller. So hopefully she's still on the line. Hi, Deb, from Connecticut. How are you tonight? Are you there?
Hi, Mari. Yes.
Hi. Thanks for waiting so long. I saw you sitting there waiting. You're very patient. Good for you. How can I help you tonight?
Well, the topic of multidimensionality has always been fascinating to me. I don't know a lot about it, but I was really intrigued when I saw you were doing the talk on it tonight. And I guess my biggest question, I guess, is anybody's, what's going on in my other dimensions, and am I living the same lifestyle? But for me, I was curious if I was with the same partner also, or because I've been having a lot of issues. So I guess I was wondering, Yeah, like if I was working on this in other dimensions as well, or if I had moved on.
Actually, you know what? It's funny because when I was studying this myself, and I was working with someone who kind of knew about this kind of stuff. What you have, according to many of the folks who are kind of experts in this, you have like thousands of these going on at one time. And, you know, for the sake of simplicity, we don't go into, and there's thousands of other versions of you, but you do. And you can have all things the same except for one aspect. So what they mean by that is you can be in a relationship with this person, and in another, you know, version of you, you're having a relationship of your dreams. Everything's going beautiful. He's, you know, this person perfectly, you know, monogamous or whatever you're concerned about, you makes money, whatever it is. And all things are the same as this lifetime. It's like almost the same imprint, with the exception of whatever is the problem in your current lifetime is not a problem in that lifetime. And you can access the energy of that perfection, you know, of that other lifetime where things are going well, and bring it back into this body, you know, into this experience. And the way that you can do that, the simplest, like, you know, radio show version way to access this is just to close your eyes for like 60 seconds. Envision the version of you that you are right now, meeting the version of you, the Deb that is in the relationship that's working beautifully, and literally sit down with her and in a place, you know, it could be like a vision of a living room or a coffee shop or whatever, you know, and you actually say to her, what is it that you did for this relationship to turn out the way it has? And then she can, and you can just use your journal to sort of just intuit what she might say. It might be a one word. It might be like kind of like a movie kind of vision of, you know, a particular turning point. Or it might just be an energy, and you can ask her if she can transfer that energy to you, and you can literally envision you with you and just come together and sort of fuse together, and you sort of take on the essence of that energy that creates that healing. And then you just slowly open your eyes right where you are. You don't want to think about going back to where you were when you started the exercise, because then you sort of undo it. You want to just open your eyes right where you are, and now you're in that essence where that's possible.
Wow. So it sounds like you could probably use that with anything maybe going on, you know, like, oh, I don't have the right job, I don't have this, and you could envision that in another life and sit down with that person, you know, yourself in that life or in that dimension and ask them the same thing on that topic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I wouldn't look at it as another life, because then people start to get all...
Yeah, that was the wrong word.
Well, it's not a matter of wrong. It's just there's probably a more congruent word, and that is just aspect, because it's all you, right? And these aspects of you are all happening concurrently, and that's why they say there's no such thing as time. That's a whole other show. They say there's no such thing as past, present, and future. Like even your past, quote, what we consider past lives, like that might be in years gone by. That's also, like a lot of people, like what you're talking about, you might think, oh, I need to go to either the version of me that's living right in, 2013, but that's in that version of me the way this is working out beautifully. But you could also, let's say, go to a version of you who lived in 1912 and access information from that version of you, for whatever reason that you might need to do that. So it's very, very powerful to. Now, the other thing that you can do, and this is always fun to do too, and I've actually done this for my business. I use all these tools myself, but whenever I get confused about, you can actually access the energies of people who were really skilled at what you currently do. Like I do a lot of negotiating with, contracts, and I was actually in the movie business, film for a long time, and I do, sort of developing those types of instruments now just in this business. And what you can do is you can go to someone like a Walt Disney or someone who was really a Metro Goldwyn Mayer, or, anybody who's alive, who was alive, who was really good at what if you're cooking, a Julia Child, and you can actually sit in that same kind of a space, in that infinite space, because you have infinite access to anyone and anything that's ever been in existence, and you can actually sit and take on the cooking skills of a Julia Child, the sensibilities of that. So that those instincts, she had instincts, right? She knew instinctively when to pull that pot off the thing so the souffle didn't blow up, that kind of thing, right? So you could pull that energy in as well. So can you imagine how much expansiveness you have?
It's incredible. I think I had read about something in that in a book. It was Matrix Energetics years ago, and I had tried it. I haven't been successful at it yet, but I'm going to keep at it because it's like such a cool concept.
Yeah. And it's actually, if you look at it as a possibility instead of a concept, you'll be able to receive it. So don't look at it as you're observing it on a stage. Start to just allow yourself to switch, like I said, switch your point of orientation to the infinite, and then just assume it's all possible. Like it exists. You're in that existence, as opposed to sort of observing it on a stage of, I wonder if that's possible. Because then you won't get the results when you do that. And that's where a lot of people kind of fall, is they hear about it and they theoretically, but they stay as an audience and observe it and wonder if it could work for them, and then they try it, but they try it with the audience hat on. Instead of going into, so like let's say you had a magic trick. A magician is on the stage, and he invites someone to participate in the magic trick. So she has to go up on the stage. You can't do it from the audience. He brings you up on the stage, and then he cuts the body in half, and he spins you around, and all those things, right? But you had to go up on the stage to participate. So when you're thinking of these types of really what seems to be esoteric topics, are really, really, really simple. It's really simple, but you have to be willing to step into the orientation of orient yourself from that side of the fence, as opposed to from your physical side wondering if the infinite side works. Step into the infinite side, and if you think you're daydreaming, you're not. It'll feel the same. Does that make sense?
It does. That's so helpful. I really appreciate the way you put that. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thanks for calling in tonight. I'm really excited that you called in, especially with a question that was relevant. I appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Enjoy your night.
Take care.
You too. So, I just love this topic because it's one of those things that it just expands our capacity, and that's what this whole new post, solstice of 2012, and that's what this is all about. That's what that was all about. This is our capacity. This is not a magic trick. This is not, hocus pocus or, a carnival act. This is our truth. This is that capacity. This is like, the Christ energy. I'm not saying we're all Christ, because everybody, I get all kinds of emails. But this is that energy, that infinite energy that we all embody, and it's now been ignited. We have access to it more so than we've ever had before. But what happens is when we get either afraid or we intellectualize or we just don't know, we're not aware, then we have all these buttons on our dashboard and we don't know how to deal with them. But guess what? The buttons are no longer dormant. And if you press them without really knowing what you're pressing, you have all kinds of things happening in your life that are spinning around. You're like, oh, my God, why did that happen? That didn't used to happen. Oh, my goodness, I think something going to happen. Because you've got all these active buttons now because the grid is alive. It wasn't alive before. A lot of this stuff, you could have tried it 5-10 years ago and didn't work, or it took a really long time, and there's all this lag time and all this other stuff because the grid wasn't ready yet. Now it's there. Now all the things are there, and all of your buttons are activated. So why not learn how to use them? It's the most of it is you possibly can, so that you can have greater ease, because it really does make things a lot simpler. So I hope that you enjoyed the show, because I enjoyed talking about this. All of my classes are going in this direction now. I have a new book coming out. It's all going in this direction. You'll see a lot of folks in the Telesummit. We're kind of all going in this general direction, and I'm really choosing people very, very carefully and going and meeting with them. I talked to one guy for 4 hours yesterday just so I can make sure, and it's just really, really, really good stuff coming up. So keep your eyes out for that. And in the meantime, give some of these things a try. You'll be pleasantly surprised. It's a lot easier than you think. And things that you desire are a lot closer than you think. So believe it or not, we've come to the end of another Aha Moments radio show. And like I said, the Telesummit registration will start next week. And in the meantime, I'd just like you to always remember that you truly can have exactly what you want. You absolutely deserve it too. And in this energy, anything is possible. See you next week, everybody. Have a great night.
You've been listening to the Aha Moments radio show with your host, Mari. Be sure to visit her blog and website at www.ahamomentsinc.com. That's AHA, moments with an S, inc.com. Also join Mari on Facebook at www.facebook.com/ahamomentsinc and Twitter at twitter.com/ahamoments. We can't wait to see you there.